بسم الله. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. وبعد, today we continue with the story of the three speaking infants, or I called it in the latest update, the stories of the three speaking infants, because there are actually three stories. And one of them, as I mentioned before, we will not discuss, we only mention, which is the story of Isa alayhi salam. And then the second story is the one we spent 2 weeks discussing so far, and we will discuss it a little more today, which is the Jurayj. And the last story is the story that also we will cover today, the third speaking infant. Okay, so that's where we stand now, and this is the third of 3 lectures, and inshallah it will be the last. We do not want to spend any more time on this, because we have other things that we would like to discuss if Allah wills, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, since our last meeting, I came upon a number of authentic reports, some of them actually even in Muslim, Sahih Muslim and al-Bukhari, and some in Musnad Imam Ahmad, which shed much more light on the story of Jurayj. So I will quickly mention these additional points, or additional text that supplements the meanings that we had in this story, and comment, see if there are any additional benefits, and there are additional benefits in what you will hear now. Let me share the screen for a little bit. I did not finish editing the text to incorporate all the new material, but I did incorporate some of it, so inshallah I will show it to you, at least in Arabic, and then I will translate it at the same time. So let's go here and share the screen and share. Okay, and then we go here and make the screen bigger. Okay, you remember this first part, which says that only 3 infants ever spoke in their crib: Isa, son of Maryam, and Jurayj's companion, and then there will be one more to discuss later in this long hadith. Okay, now this part we did not see before. This is from Musnad Ahmad, rahimahullah, and other books of hadith. It says, وَكَانَ جُرَيْجُ فِي بَنِي إِسْرَائِيل. Here, you remember last time we guessed that Jurayj was an Israelite, and we guessed that he was in the period, or in the era between Isa and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But now it spells it clearly in this text. It says, كان جريج في بني إسرائيل. Jurayj was among the Israelites. وكان في أول أمره تاجرا. And in the beginning of his affair, he was a merchant. وكان ينقص أو يخسر مرة ويزيد أو يربح أخرى. Which means, and he used to gain sometimes and lose sometimes. Yani he would make profit sometimes in his trade, and sometimes he would lose. فقال, so he thought to himself, ما في هذه التجارة من خير. There is no good in this business. Why? Because sometimes it gains, sometimes it loses. It's not always losing. لألتمسن تجارة هي خير من هذه التجارة. I will seek a business which is better than this business. Okay, I'm setting up, 1 second, I'm setting up the phone so that I can receive any WhatsApp messages that come to me, and at the same time I would be receiving, as we did last week, any messages that come on YouTube. Inshallah, I will be able to see them as well. And so far there is none. There are 2 people watching, but there are no messages. So anything that you would like to say, including the fact that the sound is okay, please go ahead and send them on either of the 2 platforms. So he said, ما في هذه التجارة من خير. There is no good in this business. Why? Because it doesn't always give profit, and he wants something which is more profitable than what he is involved in. So what did he say? لألتمسن تجارة هي خير من هذه التجارة. I am going to seek a business which is better than this business. What was this business? فانقطع للعبادة والزهد. He he allocated all his time to worship and to giving up the worldly pleasures, zuhd, or renunciation. واعتزل الناس, and he stayed away from the people. واتخذ أو بنى صومعة يترهب فيها, and he built for himself a صومعة. صومعة, we said it's a monastery or a hermitage in which he used to do ترهب فيها. What is ترهب? ترهب is from rahib. Rahib is a monk, and tarahub is the worship that a monk practices. Okay, but this has an Arabic, of course it has a meaning, an original meaning in Arabic, from rahba. Rahba means fear, which means that a monk fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much that he decides to stay away from people and to spend all his time worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so that's where the word rahbaniya in Arabic comes from, and very possibly in the other Semitic languages it would be the same, and similar. Okay, rahbani. As for monk, the English word monk, I don't know what it is, where it comes from originally, but it doesn't matter. What we care is about the original Arabic word here, yatarahab, okay, and what it means. And as we said before, that this is an act, the practice of the monks, the way they worship Allah is not something that Allah ordained for them, but they selected, and after that they were not able to fulfill it the way that they vowed that they would do. Most of them would not be able, or were not able to fulfill it the right way, as Allah tells us in the Quran. Okay, so we keep going here. وكانت أمه تأتي لزيارته بين الحين والحين. So his mother used to come and visit him from time to time, which means that, what we read before last week was not, the first visit that his mother made, but she used to come often or from time to time and visit him. فيطل عليها من شرفة في الصومعة, and he would look upon her from a balcony that he had in his hermitage. This is a further proof that his hermitage was high, on a cliff or something like that, above the normal level of the street or the road. And so it was high, and that's why he had to look upon the people who are downstairs to be able to see them and to talk to them. And shurfa means a place where a person can look upon people underneath him. It could mean like a ridge in a mountain or something like that, or it could mean a high place. And we often say that we translate it from Arabic to English in current usage as being a balcony, but it's not. It doesn't have to be balcony in the precise understanding of today's architecture. It could be some ledge that, not ridge. I said ridge earlier. I meant a ledge. It could be a ledge that he was high next to his hermitage, and he would stand there and talk to his mother. فيطل عليها من شرفة في الصومعة فيكلمها, and he would speak to her. فجاءته في يوم من الأيام تدعوه فصادفته يصلي. So one day she came to him and she was calling him, and she found that he was praying. It happened that he was praying. فقالت, so she said, يا جريج أنا أمك فكلمني. Oh Jurayj, I'm your mother, talk to me, speak to me. And this means, it appears to mean that she could hear him praying. And yet she said, I need you to talk to me. أنا أمك فكلمني. So at this point, Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu and the narrators after him described how the Prophet ﷺ imitated the way that she called out to Jurayj, raising her head and placing the palm of her right hand over her right eyebrow. She was trying to protect her eyes from the sun, it appears, by doing this, because she was looking up, and seems like in the time of duha, in the middle of the day, where the sun was strong. Then he continued narrating, and Abu Hurairah continued narrating from the Prophet ﷺ. That when she said, فَقَالَتْ يَا جُرَيْجُ أَنَا أُمُّكَ فَكَلِّمْنِي, O Jurayj, I'm your mother, speak to me. He said, Ya Rabbi, and in another report he said, Allahumma, which are almost equivalent in meaning. O my Lord, or O my God, this is my mother. It is my mother and my prayer. So which one should I put ahead? فأقبل على صلاته أو فاختار صلاته. He continued praying in one narration. Another narration says he selected to pray the prayer. Then فانصرفت, which means after waiting a while and finding that he did not speak to her, she left. Or فرجعت, she went back from where she came into her home. فلما كان من الغد أتته. Then on the following day she came to him, and another narration says ثم أتته الثانية, which means she came to him the second time, like she did the first time. فصادفته يصلي, same thing, and then she called again, and he had again the trouble of deciding, but continued to pray. And then the third night, the same thing, she found him praying, and she said the same, I am your mother, speak to me. and he was confused what to do, but he continued praying. And then she made the dua, and she became very upset with him, and she said, Allahumma inna hadha Jurayjun. Oh Allah, this is Jurayj. Wa innahu ibni, and he's my son. Yani she is telling Allah, oh Allah, this is Jurayj, my son. Wa inni qad kallamtuhu fa'aba an yukallimani. And I spoke to him, but he refused to speak back to me, to respond to me. Allahumma, oh Allah, la tumithu, let him not die, hatta turiyahu al-mumisat, until you let him see the prostitutes or the harlots. قال, يعني Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam added, وَلَوْ دَعَتْ عَلَيْهِ أَنْ يُفْتَتَنَ لَفُتِنَ. Had she made the dua that he would be seduced by them, he would have been seduced. But of course, she appeared to be a loving mother. She was upset with him, and she made a dua, but it was not very terrible. She said, he wants to stay in his hermitage and not see any evil in the world. Let him see the prostitutes. And she did not say let him be seduced by the prostitutes. Okay, so this is an additional part that I have found, and then the next part I haven't included here. There is more, additional texts and additional details of the story in the subsequent incidents that took place, which is that this Baghi, this woman that agreed to go and seduce him, she went to him, and she used, actually some narrations say that she used to go and she had an affair with a rai, a shepherd who used to sleep underneath the hermitage of Jurayj. So she tried to seduce Jurayj. He did not listen to her. Then she went to this rai, to this shepherd, and فأمكنته من نفسها, she had allowed him to herself, to reach her, to have, to make love to her. And as I said, some of the narrations indicate that they had an affair even before that. But in light of the two narrations, it may mean that it could mean that they started having an affair after she could not seduce Jurayj, and she was upset, as some narrations indicate that she was very upset and angry why she was unable to seduce him, despite the fact that she was one of the most pretty women in her time. So she became pregnant from the shepherd. Okay. Then when she gave birth, they asked her, who is this baby from that you just gave birth to? And she said, this is from Jurayj. And some reports indicate that there was a king in that town where they lived. And that king brought her before, or she was brought before the king. And they asked her, how come she are pregnant? And she said, because Jurayj, the monk, caused me and made love to me so that I'm pregnant. So he said, go and bring him, tie him and bring him before me. He wanted to punish him himself. So they went and they started demolishing his hermitage, as you heard last time. And when he heard that, he came out and he said, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? He went down. And one of the reports say that he went down climbing on a rope, which means that he did not have stairs or any other means to climb into his hermitage. It was basically a small shed on a cliff that the way to climb into it is by using a rope in and out. So he climbed down on the rope and he said, "What's wrong with you? Why are you demolishing my hermitage?" So they said, "It's because you have committed zina with this prostitute and she just gave birth of a baby from you." And then they tied him up, they tied his hands to his neck, and they dragged him all the way to the king. While he was being taken to the king, people stood on the sides of the road to watch him. And maybe they made fun of him and they said, he is a hypocrite, he pretends that he is religious, but he actually committed zina with a woman, with a prostitute, and she gave birth to a baby from him. So while he was being taken, they passed by the houses of the other prostitutes. So it was not only this prostitute that he came across in this story who tried to seduce him, and maybe he didn't even look at her. Maybe she tried, but he turned away his face. But then, while he was being taken to the king, there were a number of prostitutes on the way. They came out of their house to look at him. And when he saw them, it seemed that there was a way for the people in that time to distinguish that these are prostitutes. Maybe the way they were dressed, or the way they made makeup, or whatever it was. But he saw them. He realized that these were the prostitutes, and he smiled. He smiled, and then he was taken before the king. When he reached the king told him. He asked him, "You committed zina with this woman, right?" And he said, "Which woman?" He said, "This prostitute." He said, "Okay, where is the baby?" And they showed him the baby. He said, "Okay, please allow me to pray." And he performed wudu and he prayed. After he finished praying, he went to the child and he poked his stomach with his finger and he said, "Who is your father?" He said, "My father is the shepherd, so and so." And he even named, as I told you, I think last week, maybe I didn't, that he said, "What's your name?" or "What's your father's name?" Because there are reports saying that the name, actually this report is in Al-Adab al-Mufrad by al-Bukhari. It says that they asked him, "Who is your father?" And he said, "My father is Babus." So he gave the name of the father as being Babus or Yabus or something like that, a name that was in their language at that time. Okay, so okay, I'm not finding the hadith right away, so we can. But I mean, from my memory, that's what was. It was a strange name that the child gave, and it seems that people around were able, of course, including the king, to hear clearly, to understand what the baby was saying, because when they heard this, they became very amazed, and they immediately jumped to Jurayj and they started hugging him, kissing him, and wiping over him to get barakah from him. Okay, and the king told him, he said, "Look, I'm gonna rebuild your hermitage with gold." He said, "No, please don't." He said, "Okay, then from silver." He said, "No, please build it the way that it was, from clay." Okay, so then of course, this made them even more convinced of the righteousness of this man. And the king asked him, but I have a question to ask you. Why, why did you smile when you were being brought to me? I was told that you smiled when you looked at the prostitutes. And he said, I smiled because I realized that أدركتني دعوة أمي. أدركتني دعوة أمي. This is a very important part of the hadith that we did not mention last time because it was not in the narration that I had from Sahih Muslim and Sahih Bukhari. But there are other narrations in Muslim and Bukhari which mention this. Okay? So he said, أدركتني دعوة أمي, which means the supplication of my mother has fallen upon me. That's why he smiled, because he said to himself, and it was a smile of sorrow, not a smile of happiness. He was smiling, as they call, I don't know, there's a name for it in Arabic, yellow smile, which is a smile of sorrow, that his mother's, I don't know if there's a similar name for it in English, but that's how they call it in Arabic, ضحكة صفراء. So his smile was just because he realized that indeed he has done wrong and the supplication of his mother was accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the story of Jurayj, more complete than what I mentioned over the last 2 weeks. And there are only a few more lessons that I want to bring up today before we go to the next story, which is in the same hadith. Okay, one of them that I wanted to mention is the way the hadith started, that Jurayj was a merchant, and then he realized that whatever profit he makes in his business is not anything great, because you gain sometimes, you lose other times, you gain sometimes, you lose other times, and whatever you make at the end you will be leaving behind you. So he looked for what is more permanent and what is more profitable, which is the trade with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how we all should look for, which is the permanence of the hereafter as compared to the temporal nature of this worldly life. Okay, so he left everything and he went and lived in that monastery. I'm not saying that all of us should do that, but all of us should have the hereafter in front of our eyes and realize the worthlessness of this worldly life, and that we do not want to waste too much time running after it, because it is like a mirage. You will never be able to hold it with your hands, but you will only be able to hold your good deeds that you do in this life. Okay, so that is one extra benefit that we learn from this hadith. And another one, another one that we could have mentioned last time, but we didn't, when we commented on the rahbaniyah that Allah Azza wa Jal mentions in the Quran, the monasticism that those monks practiced in those times, and that Allah Azza wa Jal tells us that it is not something that He ordained for them, but they made it up. They made it, so it's a bid'ah from them, and yet they were not able to fulfill it the way that they promised to. This monasticism is, which includes living away from the people, is not something very commendable in Islam, except in very rare situations. Rather, a believer is supposed to mix with other people. As the Prophet ﷺ told us, المؤمن الذي يخالط الناس ويصبر على أذاهم خير من الذي لا يخالط الناس لا يصبر على أذاهم. which means a believer who mixes with people and who is patient in regard to their harm, because when you mix with people, they will harm you for sure in different ways, by their looks, by their words, by their actions, by different ways. So if you mix with them for the sake of making da'wah to them and helping them in various ways, then this is better than to live in seclusion by yourself. Okay, so this is clear from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Another benefit that we see from the words text that we is that his mother used to come to him and stand underneath his hermitage, and she would look up at him even though the sun was in her face, and talk to him, and he talks back to her. And this shows you how the mother, many times she doesn't want much from us. She just wants from us to show some care, some concern. What would it take, when he talks to her, when she talks to him? She says, "How are you, my son? Alhamdulillah. How are you, mother?" And she would say, "Alhamdulillah. How's your health? Alhamdulillah. Sometimes I have a pain in my back, in my legs, etc." So he comforts her. May Allah reward you. May Allah protect you. May Allah strengthen you, and so on. So it would be definitely a short visit. When she's looking up in the sun and talking to her son when he is above her, and it's not easy for him to come down, and it's not possible for her to go up. Okay, in this kind of situation, definitely her visit to him was not that long. Okay, so you see that the mother very often she is satisfied from us with very little. So we should work on giving her this little or more than this little to keep her happy. And as you know, that the Prophet ﷺ told us that the Jannah is at her feet. إلزم قدمها فثم الجنة, which means stay by her foot because that's where Jannah is. Okay, and He told us, Allah Azza wa Jal told us to be kind and gentle and good toward both of our parents. And the Prophet ﷺ emphasized that we should even be more good to the mother than to the father. Our kindness to the mother should come first and before, possibly for two reasons. One is that she suffered more. One, she bore us, and when she took care of us, nursed us, and so on. And the other reason is because women are usually have kinder hearts, and they can be easily hurt as well as can easily be made happy. Okay, so that's why the more that we spend of time next to her, the better it is for us, inshallah. Okay, so and also notice how she called him by saying, "Oh Jurayj, I am your mother, so speak to me. Oh Jurayj, I am your mother, so speak to me," which is that she is reminding him of her right over him, that being your mother, you have to speak to me. It's more important than for you to continue praying your voluntary prayer. So she had a better understanding in this regard than her son. But also, her da'wah or her curse, you can call it, on him was based on the fact that he made her so angry, and yet she did not make the curse as bad as some mothers do sometimes because of their ignorance. She did not say, "Oh Allah, he is trying to live in seclusion and worship. Okay, let him be seduced by the worst and most evil woman on earth." She didn't say that. She only said let him see the faces of the prostitutes. Okay, so her curse on him was really very moderate, and it would have been better that she didn't do this curse, but it was maybe for benefit for him and for us to learn a great lesson from what happened and from all people who came after him. Yani. Okay, so this is the dua of the mother, and the Bukhari and Muslim bring this hadith uh, in some places under the heading of that the dua of the parents for their children is accepted. Okay, so we have to be careful and to make sure that our parents will make good dua for us and not bad dua against us. And the Prophet ﷺ warned women from making a dua against their children, because he said sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا توافق ساعة استجابة, يعني let her not make dua against him or against her children, because it may happen that it is at a time of acceptance, and this will indeed happen. And I'm told that one of my relatives, I never met him, he died before yani several years before I was born. But this relative, his father, used to say to him, he used to love him a lot. He was his oldest son, and a kind of I would say du'aba or joking, he would say to him, may Allah break your youth. May Allah break your youth. And as you know, this is something that happens in some of the languages of people, that they say things like that. And even in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ said to Mu'adh, ثَكَلَتْكَ أُمُّكَ يَا Mu'adh, may your mother lose you, O Mu'adh. And to other people. But also he said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, oh Allah, whatever dua I make against my people, turn it into something good, or something to this effect. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is something to keep in mind, that the dua is acceptable. So that father kept saying to his son, as the other relatives told us, he always said, may your youth be broken down or destroyed or something like that. And what happened is that indeed he got a blood cancer, and he died when he was very young, even though he was a very strong youth who used to go into swimming competitions and things like that. And but anyways, he died quite young. His father was so sad when he died that he did not last much after him, yani maybe like 4 or 5 months after him. Okay. So anyways, we have to be careful as parents. Now I mentioned how we act as children towards our parents, but also as parents towards our children. We should never curse them. We should never make a dua that later on we will feel sorry that we said for them. Okay. Okay, now I don't want to spend any more time on this story, because we already have discussed a lot of benefits that we extracted from it. So now we come to the next story, and I'm going to share the screen again with you. We don't have much time left. Share screen. I don't think. Here we go. Share screen. Okay. So it says here, this is the continuation of the same hadith. As you heard, the beginning said there were 3 infants who spoke in their crib. The first, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, was Isa, son of Maryam, and the second was, he mentioned the story of Jurayj, and in the course of the story was that baby that spoke in his in his crib or while in his infanthood. And then now he continues sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He says, وبين صبي يرضع من أمه فمر رجل راكب على دابة فارهة بشارة حسنة فقالت أمه اللهم اجعل ابني مثلها فترك الثدي وأقبل إليه فنظر إليه فقال اللهم لا تجعلني مثله ثم على ثديه فجعل يرتضع, which means also for the third talking infant, a baby boy was nursing from his mother. A man passed riding a handsome beast which had beautiful trappings. The mother said, "Oh Allah, make my son like this man, and let my son become like this man." The baby left the breast, turned toward the man, looked at him, and then said, "Oh Allah, do not make me like him." Then he turned back to the breast and continued suckling. So Abu Hurairah said, فكأني أنظر إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وهو يحكي ارتضاعه إصبعه بأصبعه السبابة في فيه فجعل يمصها, which means that Abu Hurairah said, it's as though I am now seeing Allah's Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم imitating the baby's suckling by placing his forefinger into his mouth and sucking it. Then he continued narrating, يعني الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم continued narrating, ومروا بجارية وهم يضربونها. يعني it seems that maybe the mother was sitting يعني by the door of her house suckling her son when that man passed, and then later on مروا, they passed, يعني some people passed, maybe some soldiers or some other people, they passed holding a slave girl and beating her while saying ويقولون زنيتي سرقتي, you committed adultery, you stole. وهي تقول, and she was saying حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل, Allah is sufficient for me and He is the best supporter. Okay. فقالت أمه, so his mother said, اللهم لا تجعل ابني مثلها, oh Allah, do not make my son like her. The baby فترك الرضاع ونظر إليها وقال اللهم اجعلني مثلها. So the baby stopped suckling, looked at the slave girl, and then said, oh Allah, make me like her. Okay, so we don't know whether other people heard this discussion or discourse between the mother and her baby, but at least the mother heard that, and the Prophet ﷺ is telling us about that this is one of the three babies who spoke in their infanthood. Okay, فهنالك تراجع الحديث. At this point, when after this happened, تراجع الحديث, which means they disputed. Imagine a mother disputing with her infant. فقالت, so she said to him, مر رجل حسن الهيئة فقلت اللهم اجعل ابني مثله فقلت اللهم لا تجعلني مثله. مر رجل, a man passed who is good looking, handsome, and I said, oh Allah, make my son like him, and you said, do not make me like him. ومروا بهذه الأمة وهم يضربون, and they passed by this woman, a slave girl who they were beating and telling that she committed zina and stole. And you said, I said, oh Allah, do not make my son like her, but you said, oh Allah, make me like her. So how come, she's asking him, how come you are opposing me in what I'm saying? قال, so he responded, explained to his mother, إن ذلك الرجل كان جبارا. Indeed, that man was a tyrant. فقلت اللهم لا تجعلني مثله. So I said, oh Allah, do not make me like him. وإن هذه يقولون لها زنيت ولم تزني وسرقت ولم تسرق. And as for the woman, they tell her, they were accusing her, you committed adultery when she did not. And they are accusing her, you stole when she did not. So I said, فَقُلْتُ اللَّهُمَّ اجْعَلْنِي مِثْلَهُ, Allah, make me like her. Okay? As you see, this part, this second story in this hadith is not as long as the other story, and it does not have as much lessons that we can benefit from, but there are a few important lessons. One of them is we see from the beginning that a mother is always hopes the best for her, or normal mothers hope the best for their children, and that's why this woman was making dua that Allah make her son the best possible and protect him from the bad fate that appeared before her eyes. Okay. Now the other thing is that Allah Azza wa Jal wanted to give a karama, it's a miracle to a righteous person, maybe the woman in this case, maybe because she was known to him to be righteous, and he wanted her to learn a lesson from her son, and for her son to speak when it is not normal for babies of his age to speak, and even if they spoke, they would not speak in an intelligent way like the way he was speaking. Okay, so which tells us that this baby indeed spoke more intelligently than the baby in the story of Jurayj, because in Jurayj's case, all what he said, the baby said, was that my father is the shepherd. But here, the baby spoke more intelligently by telling why. He argued with his mother, and he told her why he made this kind of choice or response. Okay, so this we see as a proof that Allah Azza wa Jal gives this kind of karamat to the righteous people over time, for them to benefit and for their iman to strengthen, and for other people to learn lessons from that, as in this case we and other people to whom the hadith was related by the Prophet ﷺ learned a lot of lessons, or some lessons, from this story. The other thing is that here and in the previous story of Jurayj, the Prophet ﷺ often acted in a way to explain to his people by actions, by hand movements, what took place. Like in the case of the mother of Jurayj, he told us how she put her hand over her eyebrow to look up at her son. And here he told us how the baby, when he went back to the breast, he started sucking, and the Prophet ﷺ put his finger into his mouth to show us how he did that, and to show his companions, and then it was related to us how he did that, which is a confirmation that this was indeed a very young infant, that he was still suckling from his mother. Okay, another thing that we learned from here is that Allah Azza wa Jal made the baby look first and then give his view, his opinion. He did not, while he was breastfeeding, he stopped nursing for a little bit, and then he said, "Oh Allah, do not listen to her, do not make me like him," and continued. No, he looked around, turned his head, and looked at that man, and then he said, "Oh Allah, do not make me like him." Which means that Allah Azza wa Jal made him do that to make it clear that he acted on knowledge, which means that even a baby who was a miracle, if he before he gave his evidence or his verdict, he looked at the case in front of him and then he spoke. So we should do that. We should look at the case in front of us and understand it before we give our opinion on it. Okay. Another thing is that when a person is being harmed and he's innocent, the best thing that he can say is Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. It's one of the best supplications that is from a treasure in Jannah, and that Allah Azza wa Jal rewards highly for it and protects the people who say it sincerely, as Allah Azza wa Jal told us, فَانْقَلَبُوا بِنِعْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَفَضْلٍ لَمْ يَمْسَسْهُمْ سُوءٌ. Those who said Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, Allah tells us, they turned back with a favor and blessing from Allah without being harmed at all. So when a person says this dua, Allah certainly protects him and helps him if he says it with sincerity. So we should give a great value of this dua in our daily supplications. And as you know, a similar supplication like this is at the end of Surah Bara'a or Tawbah, which is Hasbi Allahu la ilaha illa huwa alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arshil azim. It is recommended to say it 7 times in the morning and the evening. It is an authentic supplication for the morning and evening. Okay, so sufficient is Allah to me, and He is the best of supporters. Okay, and then another thing we learn is that do not take things for face value. Yani, do not always believe what you see, because not all what people pretend is impressive or should be impressive to us. It's not always true, but there is some hidden part, and we should not, take the accusations of people as being a proof without a strong evidence for their accusations and unequivocal evidence for their accusations. And as you see, in the case of the woman, she was accused of zina and of theft when she was obviously, by what Allah's Prophet told us, that, and definitely it is something that Allah let the child say, yani He made it run on the tongue of the baby, that she was not a fornicator or an adulteress, and she was not a thief. Okay, even though they were accusing her of this. So, and this also indicates, could indicate that what the baby said, and I said earlier that probably only his mother heard it. But if other people around also heard that, then that could have been, in that time, in those days, it could have been taken by those who heard as a proof for the to purify or to clean that woman and to indict the other man. So not everyone that we see of impressive looks is good at heart, and not everything that we see of repulsive look is certainly repulsive. And as you know, in the English saying which goes, "But not all what glitters is gold." Okay, so here this man appeared to be handsome and powerful and noble and so on, but he was a tyrant. He was a person who was doomed to hell if he did not repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this reminds of another story that I will mention quickly and briefly, in which where is it? It's an authentic hadith. I believe the hadith is authentic. Okay, Ubay bin Ka'b radiallahu anh reported, this is a Muslim Imam Ahmad, and if I find any proof to the contrary, the hadith, as far as I remember, is authentic. Ubay bin Ka'b said, انتسب رجلان على عهد رسول الله. And two men were mentioning their lineage at the time of Rasulullah. So one of them said, I am the son of so and so, and of so and so, and of so and so. So he mentioned 9 people. Sorry. The hadith says that 2 men were boasting, one of them was boasting about his lineage in front of another man. He said, I am son of so and so, so who are you? La umma lak, may you lose your mother. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then, when he heard this, he commented by saying, and this is where the story starts, it says, انتسب رجلان على عهد موسى. And 2 men mentioned their lineage at the time of Musa alayhi salam. One of them said, I am so and so, the son of so and so, the son of so and so. He counted 9 people, 9 of his grandparents, and great-grandparents. So a total of 9 plus him, 10. And then he said, who are you? May you lose your mother. So the man responded, the other man responded by saying, I am Fulan, son of Fulan. I'm so and so, son of so and so, son Ibn al-Islam, son of Islam. And he only mentioned himself and his father, and that they relate to Islam. So Allah revealed to Musa alayhi salam in regard to these men, as for you, O you who are relating yourself to 9 people in the fire, you will be the 10th of them. And as for you who are relating yourself to 2 people in the Jannah, you are the 3rd of them in Jannah. So this is, as I said, recorded by Imam Ahmad. Okay. So this tells us that not everyone who is noble in lineage or in descendants will be in Jannah. And what we care about is the real value, not the worldly value that people seek by, for example, admiring people of wealth and of status and trying to be related to them by marriage and other ways. This is not what they should seek, but they should seek the relationships that are built on the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because this is the proof of Iman, or one of the proofs of Iman, as Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told us. Okay, we have been going now for almost a complete hour. Let me see if there are any questions on the YouTube channel, because I don't see any questions here or any comments. Okay, I don't see any comments either. So brothers, I'm going to stop here. So if you have any questions or you want to add to what I said, please go ahead and do it. In the meantime, and I'm waiting, but in the meantime, I want to say that on my YouTube channels, I want to mention 2 things. The first is that, as you probably noticed now, we have put up thumbnails for all the videos, for all 20 videos that we have done so far, and we will do the same for the new one that I'm doing today. Okay, so that makes 21 lectures so far in this series of lectures from the book of the upcoming book, inshallah, which is True Tales of Lore. So And I really appreciate the work of Brother Hamad, who is the one who يعني, created the original thumbnail that based on it we did all these thumbnails that you see on all these videos. So that's one thing I want to mention. Another thing I would like to mention is that if you go to my, when I go to my YouTube channel, I find that for most of the lectures, most of the videos, there are no uh, there are uh, no likes. There are no likes, and really I don't care about likes and يعني whether people like or not like. I don't really care much about that. But what I do care, what matters in this case is that I believe, and I might be wrong, Yani, but you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that if there are, okay, I'm going now, yeah, I can see it on this page, which is videos, video manager videos. Okay, starting from the beginning, the first lecture on, we have 3 likes, 0 likes, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 4, 0, 0, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 0, 2, 0, 0, 0. Okay? And for the dislikes, there were some, I don't know where they are. There's one in one case. I think there was a case where there was a bunch of dislikes. I think somebody maybe is not يعني upon the correct path, or he is not a Muslim. He went in and يعني put a thumb down a few times, but I don't see it anymore. Allah Alam what happened. But anyway, there is one dislike, and there are very few likes, as I said. And what I think is that the more likes you have, the more that people will be attracted to come and listen to these talks. And I believe, I hope I'm not biased with this, that there is a lot of benefit in these talks. So please, if you go to each one of them and like it, then, and that would be like a way of recommending it, so that other people will like it, and will come and listen to it, and maybe also it will be found more easily in searches on Google or YouTube. So that's what I want to say in this regard. Let me see now if anybody has any questions. I still don't see anything, so I'm assuming that يعني one of two things. Okay, just disable the entire feature. Which feature? Abdurrahman is saying disable the entire feature. Which feature? The feature of liking and disliking? Can I disable it? And if I can disable it, would it not be better if it remains enabled, so that other people will be attracted to this page? I don't know. We can discuss it offline, inshallah, later on. Okay. I don't see any other comments, and I'm assuming that people were able to hear the lecture, or nobody was able to hear. Allahu Alam. But there are 3 people watching right now, so we have to stop here because the time is up. So subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.